what is the average points per minute? In the NBA, it turns out that the average metric per minute per player is 0.4, approximately. When we developed the metric, the NBA had an average of 96 points per
game.
Which
is 48 minutes. So 2 points per minute.
It was 2 points per minute per team, right?
Yes.
2 points. And it turned out that because we made the metric equal to the number of points approximately, if you have 0.4 points times 5 players, then that's 2
right.
2 units of contribution per minute times 48 minutes is 96. So your total magic metric would be 96, and you might have 96 points. One of the most interesting things we realized was when we actually looked at real games, the point differential and the magic metric differential tended to be double. The magic metric differential tended to be double. So if you beat a team 100 to 90, that point differential is 10. The magic metric differential would be about 20. That's a rule of thumb, not always true.
But,
and,
but it happened a lot.
It happens. It's a
know,
good rule of thumb.
A lot of the time.
So clearly, if you're trying to maximize your magic metric rating, you're taking the people with the highest per minute rating and you're playing them more minutes. Simple concept. And it turns out that when you play about a 9-player rotation, you're getting a pretty close to optimal amount of things. One of the things that we speculated, but we never did the hard data to show it, was that if you play a full game without a break, what's intuitive is that your metric per minute is less than if you played 80% of the game. It might not be true that if you played 3 minutes, your metric is going to be better than 4 minutes, because maybe it's better if you play 10 minutes than 2 minutes because you're getting more playing time, warmed up.
Get a little chance to get warmed up, and then by the time you get warmed up, then you're coming out. It's probably no game.
Well, what we're talking about for the best players, the ones that are playing the most minutes, what we're talking about is we believe that 80% of the minutes is probably close to optimal. When you try to start playing people 90% of the minutes, we played using this system for about 10 years almost between different leagues. 6 years in the Winder Barrow Church League.
Right.
A couple years, maybe 8.5 seasons or so.
Right. But I mean, using like the NBA example, the year that LeBron James was playing like 45 to 47 minutes per game, and they got to the finals.
Yeah.
The complaint was that he was fading at the end of games.
Oh, yeah, because you play.
He was fading because if you're playing 45 minutes a game, and sometimes he was playing all 48 minutes of the game.
LeBron in the regular season scored over 0.7 points per game, and he was scoring about 0.55 in these playoffs, but he was playing only 40 minutes a game, or less than 40 minutes a game during the regular season, like 39 minutes a game.
Well,
but he was playing 45 minutes a game in the finals. So, he would have been better. We think he'd been better off playing 80%.
Sure. Because also he's playing 45 minutes a game after playing an 82-game season.
Right.
So you're taking a guy who's kind of maybe a little bit worn down anyway, if you can say that a 20-something-year-old guy is going to get worn down at that time.
I don't know.
But
anyway,
I vaguely remember that.
We're going to talk more about the NBA players in the last.
But anyway, but I just thought that was a good example of.
But what we will talk about is the average. So the average player. Now we found in high school at our level intramural, the average was less than 0.4. It was probably 0.33. Using the same standard, the same metric, our average was not quite as high as 0.35. So Jeff, in his good days, he was 0.66, 0.68 seasons. So he was basically twice as good as the average player. Now, in this league, and at my best, I was an average player. And then over a course of about 10 years,
I'd give you a break. You're a little bit above that.
Well,
you're like 0.35 to 3.6.
Well, what I want to say is 0.4 is not an average player, by the way, because it's the NBA average, but the NBA average is made up from the superstars playing more minutes, right?
Yes. We did not score 96 points a game.
No. We did actually a game.
Well, I mean, there were
23
there were some games where we did, okay, but that was the aberration,
right?
Not the rule.
But we only had 40 minutes with a running clock, too. But the thing about this is, if you look at the NBA, 0.4 is a better than average basketball player. It is the average of contribution, but because you have the better players playing more, it's actually a better than average player rating. The average the mode and the mean, all those math terms, probably 0.35 for the NBA players. It wasn't all that far off. It was a half a point lower for move everything down a half a point for our industrial league thing.
Right.
But in the NBA, a 0.4 player is a pretty good player, very solid player. A 0.5 is a player that is known to be a great player, a good player. He's an all-star. 0.5.
Yeah, over 0.5, yes.
Yeah, a 0.6 is a Hall of Fame player, and a 0.7 is somebody that is standing out as the MVP.
That's
MVP season.
The MVP will probably be playing.
Right. Now, I actually have some publications. If you go Google Magic Metric, and you can find some publications up there, thanks to Jose Martinez, who did it. But I have this NBA one. Where's this thing? This is the 2011-2012 NBA player ratings. LeBron James was 0.74 per minute in the entire season of 2011-2012.
And he's the only one. He's the only one above 0.7.
That's right.
And so
one player,
almost like 0.8 ahead of the next two.
The next two people were at 0.66 were Kevin Love and Kevin Durant. And then we had Chris Paul, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Blake Griffith, Allen Jefferson, Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, Josh Smith. So these are names.
It sounds like a list of the best players.
It sounds like a list of best players. So it's a pretty good rating system, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're going to talk about that the last. But so 0.4, 0.5. So you can see there's not a whole lot. One of the things that we thought was, is it possible that you could lose a whole point if you played the whole game? If you took a player that was 0.7, playing 80% of the game, what would his rating be if he played the whole game? We think you might go down to 0.6. We never had a statistical thing to tell you how much, but this guy had games where he had to play the whole game because...
all the time. Before the metric, I used to play all the time.
All the time.
It's like on things. I didn't come out much.
You didn't come out much at all,
yeah.
But you actually playing 80%. Your gut feel was that you played at a good bit higher.
I played better. Certainly, it was. I found it more enjoyable. The fact that you get a couple breaks during the game, and when at the end of the game, instead of hands on my knees, feeling tired and kind of bending over and all that,
right.
I felt I was moving better than the players on the other side.
Well, that's the magic of the rotation system, which we'll get into right now. Talk about the rotations a little bit.